What's up, Rebels? Today, Technique Tuesday, I am going over some details and some points, some technique work with the Rippetoe squat from Starting Strength, Volume 3, of course. I wanted to go over this because I have a bit of a goal, and my goal is 100 reps at 135, 62, 63 kilo. The next goal after that is going to be 100 reps at 225. So I've been after this goal for a little while, and I've never really put a massive amount of thought behind a program to get to it. You know, it's always just go for it. So my best at 135 is 65 reps. So I know that I can hit the 100, I just have to train for it. This is something that is kind of a standard benchmark in kettlebell sport. So this is geared a little bit more towards that. You know, your average power lifter or your average just workout fitness enthusiast is gonna say, why in the hell would I wanna do 100 reps with 135? Why would I want to do 100 reps with any amount of weight? So for a normal person, this is not a normal thing to do. Obviously, my sport is not normal, and therefore my training is not normal. So my goal is to hit this 100 reps. Basically, I'm just going to be adding 5 pounds every week. I'll do 100 straight on Fridays, and on Mondays, I'm going to do sets of either, 3x50 is what I did yesterday, or we'll do some other variation on that. I will bump the weight up a little bit on Mondays, or else I will keep it the same. I think I'll actually keep the weight the same on Mondays for like a 3x50, so that'll give me 150 total, and then I'll up the weight on Friday to go for 100 straight. So in this video, I'm just gonna go over some technique cues as I'm basically just trying out a more low bar position to engage quads more. If you know me, I have no hamstrings and I have no ass. I'm very quad dominant and adductor dominant. So that's why I'm using more of a Rippetoe method and using more of a low bar squat method to try and hit this 100 reps so that I can actually use my quads more. This also translates over to kettlebell sport, as it is an extremely quad dominant exercise and sport. Now, the next question is, why the hell wouldn't you do front squats? I do front squats. I do tons of front squats. We usually do pretty high rep, either 5x10 or 10x10 sets on front squats, but I want to shift my focus to this 100 rep benchmark on the back squat. And just for the hell of it, I thought that I would try out my hand, or shall I say my back and my legs, at more of a low bar squat method, just to gain some experience in that area. So on to your 100 reps. And yes, I'm going to fast forward through a lot of them, and then we'll chop this up and we'll see some still frames with some diagrams and some fancy lines and all that nonsense. So on to the 100 reps Rippetoe low squat method. Here we go. All right, so let's get ready for 100 squats. So trying out this more low bar method, and we are going to freeze frame this right about here. So here is your low bar versus high bar, and here we are. So Rippetoe wants your knees a little in front of your toes, the bar over the middle of your feet. and a good angle in your back. All right, so already right here, I can see that the method definitely works, and I can definitely see how the Rippetoe squat works more for a beginner, as they don't have to be so upright in that high bar position. So I think a low bar squat definitely works good for beginners, and we're gonna continue on and check our progress on technique and form later on in this video. So, carrying on with our video, now we're actually going to speed things up quite a bit, as I'm not going to make you guys sit through me doing 100 squats at regular speed. So this video is sped up a little bit. I do think that the method definitely works. I think that what I felt though was I felt like I was too far forward on my toes. And what I'm definitely taking a look at in this video is whether or not my toes actually flatten out on the floor if my weight actually goes onto my toes. So it's very subtle to take a look at that and to see if my toes were actually flexing down towards the floor in the toe of my shoe, but it doesn't look like I am in the video. So I think it's just a feeling that I was a little bit far forward. I'm not used to that much lean and that much of an angle in my back as I sit down into the squat. So I'm used to a more high bar upright position. So we are about 2/3 of the way, not quite halfway, and we're going to check out one more freeze frame. So again, here's our low bar versus high bar versus front squat position, and here are the angles. Everything looks correct. So definitely the low bar position definitely feels comfortable, it feels fine, and what I was focusing on while I was squatting was driving through my quads, but what Rippetoe talks about a lot is driving through the hips and driving those hips up, which is not something that I am used to. What I'm used to in more of a high bar position is driving my shoulders through the bar. So I really had to focus on that hip drive, and when I saw some of the Rippetoe technique videos where they actually had somebody giving resistance, and I saw this from Alan Thrall as well, with someone giving resistance on your hips so that you can drive through those hips. Instead of trying to drive your shoulders through the bar, you're trying to drive your hips up. So this is definitely a change for me as far as my squat technique goes and how I feel and where I drive through, but I think that this will allow me to use my legs and definitely be more quad dominant in the squat. All right, so now we are going to go into super fast forward, 4X. I feel like I'm in Spaceballs and we're going at ludicrous speed. So through this set, I was definitely feeling good. I felt good on the technique. Basically, I was focusing on pushing through the hips instead of pushing shoulders through the bar, which is what I'm used to in more of a high bar squat position. So overall, this felt fine. We will see once we get to this last section and our last freeze frame in a couple of seconds here, that it's definitely in line with the Rippetoe method and more of a lean forward. The only issue that I had was feeling like I was too far forward, and that's something that hopefully I'll be able to work out over time with the next few weeks of 100 reps on Fridays. So I don't have any problems with mobility. I don't have any problems with core strength or back strength. and I am definitely a quad dominant lifter. So I think the Rippetoe method and the technique definitely works for me. It's just something that I have to practice. So more and more squats every week, more squats. That's the story of my life. And as we get closer to this, the end of this, thank God, I know you guys are all just as bored as I am watching somebody do 100 squats, even if it's in 4x ludicrous speed. So as we get towards this last frame here, I definitely want to give a shout out to Alan Thrall and say thanks for putting on his video on the starting strength Rippetoe method. But here we are finally at our last frame, and this is the last squat. Everything still looks good. So my final thoughts coming up right now. So overall, I think that this 100 rep set went really well. It was not really that difficult. I was just focusing on the technique, and I'm trying to get used to the 100 rep set. So this was a whopping 65 pounds. Not a big amount of weight by any stretch of the imagination, but 100 reps, it will add up. And yesterday I did 3x50 at the same weight, and yes, I am a little bit sore. So moving forward from here, it's definitely going to take me about 3 months to hit this 100 rep mark on 135, 62 kilo. But I think that this method and this technique is going to help me out. And really, as I said, I just wanted to try out a different technique and see how it works and see where I end up. That's it. So 100 squats on the Rippetoe method, and that's that. Thanks for checking it out. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Peace.